check. All right, sweet. All right, Brent's coming on. Here we go.
Okay.
Oh, that's cool. It's Instagram. Hit the link, it takes us. What podcast is this?
Nothing else more. I love the whole thing. It's so sweet and cute and perfect.
Yo, 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 Brent.
Yeah. Make music groovy again.
There he is. I see him.
Guys,
what's up, man?
hold on one sec.
Yeah, little guy.
That's Little Man.
Oh,
That's his name.
shit. Oh, damn. I was really close.
Oh my god! What a cute little booty!
Come here and say hi. They all want to say hi.
Oh my gosh, those thighs, those hips, those thighs. She got me. Let me tell you, those hips. Those. Sorry, I got a little excited.
How are you?
We're great. How are you? Well, I'm great. I'll answer for myself.
We're all. I'm doing good.
Yeah.
She's great. I'm good.
Yeah, we're chilling. We're chilling on a Sunday afternoon.
Aaron.
I'm getting there. He's getting to somewhere.
I'm
good.
getting there.
Great.
I've listened to you guys a few episodes going back a ways, and it's so funny to like be talking to you now.
It's funny to be talking to you too.
Well,
what a weird world.
Thanks for that fun care package too. First of all, that was awesome.
Yeah, isn't it the best to get stuff in the mail?
Dude.
Oh, yes.
Oh, I love sending shit. I love receiving shit. It's fun. You forget about it. You know, even if you order something, you kind of forget, and then you're like, oh yeah, I ordered this 2 days ago. So yeah, it was super fun, and I got a dope Dickies jumpsuit to put that patch on.
Oh,
I'm so excited.
Yeah, patches are my thing. I'm so into it.
Yes.
So I hope everybody,
Yeah.
Oh my
I hope
God.
everybody uses the patches. It's kind of advertising, but it's kind of cool too.
Well, if you're putting out dope stuff, advertising is like secondary. You know what I mean? Like it's by default, somebody's going to be like, dang, that's badass. Where'd you get that from?
Yeah, I'm 56, so we still say advertising.
Yeah. Yeah.
My dad was like a madman type of guy, but he's kind of cool. But now it's kind of like promo and swag and stuff. You know?
Yeah,
Right.
very
They've
true.
changed the lingo.
I'm like advertising.
Yeah.
That's what's happening right now in the world. We're going in between. You know what I mean? Like in between one thing to another. It's advertising, but now it's swag. It's gonna swag, but then it's gonna be.
We're making the transition.
Yeah, we're making
That's
the transition.
Yeah.
That's what I like, because a lot of bands, labels, brands, anything. Brand is another word I really don't like, but a lot of guys, you know, who have cool things, you know, whether it's art or music, it's about sharing it, you know, share it with your friends and see how it grows. And there's nothing better to see somebody's sticker on the back of a laptop or a shirt or a post or they like it. That, to me, it's probably why I'm poor. That is like,
we hear you.
Yeah. Us too, man.
We're not far behind,
Yeah,
man.
we're right there.
that's the reward.
Totally. And it feels really good, like when you create something and then you see it in the wild, like you weren't expecting it, and then you catch it somewhere. You see it on somebody's water bottle or their fridge or whatever.
Yeah.
It's like,
In the wild. Yes.
Yes.
Send it unsolicited.
yeah.
We call that an unsolicited. I don't know. I make a name for it though.
It's like you're creating your own Where's Waldo game.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
Putting out your own stuff.
Get
See
that
where
stuff out. If your friends, God, oh my God, somebody tells you, oh, I was at my friend's house. Guess what? he listened to this band you were in. It was, you know, or something, or, you know, that's rad. I mean, we could talk about it all day, how rad it is.
Yeah, well,
So-
it's
Well, you know what?
recognition.
Hold on, wait, before we
Yeah,
keep,
that's
I was
what
going to say
gonna
before we continue, we always do this. We just start talking right
I
away.
like it.
Well, so we're gonna go ahead and introduce ourselves, then we'll have you introduce yourself and tell us what you do and why you're joining us today. So I'll start. This is Apple. Thanks for joining us, giving us some of your Sunday afternoon with the puppies.
Yeah, you know, I'm scared that I was kind of gonna sequester myself away. I'm sorry that I'm ruining the introduction, but
You're not ruining shit. Love the dog.
If you've listened to the show, this is like whatever's going on. The baby was crying. Like I leave the room. My phone rings. Like it's whatever.
It's what it is.
This is not a
The dogs
professional
are
operation.
a part of who we're talking to today. So welcome to the show. This is Mel, and then
Aaron, we've talked once before, but I've never seen you. So
Yeah.
what's happening, brother? How you doing, man?
Well, I'm Brent, and it's a
Awesome.
pleasure to meet all three of you.
So Brent, what do you do, man? What's your? You said you're 56.
I'm one of those guys, you know.
One of those guys.
I'm one of those guys that people say, you should write a book. That's what Neal
Yeah.
used to always say, Neal Casal. That's kind of how I found out about No Simple Road.
Oh,
You guys interviewed him on the tour bus, and of course, he and I have been friends. We're friends, and we just, you know, I met Neal in like 99, I think, early 2000, but we were super close, and I was not only a friend, but a huge fan. So when I
yes.
saw that he was I read all of his interviews, and, you know, it wasn't like, oh, please mention me. It was, I just wanted to talk to the guy or hear him talking to other people. I loved him so much. So I tuned in, and that's the first time I heard the three of you guys. And I tuned in a bunch since then. And I love your banter, and I love the,
Thanks.
Appreciate that. Yeah,
I feel like barking dogs won't be an issue.
no,
but-
not a big deal at all.
man.
No, it's all about
This
what's
is-
happening now.
Well, it's part of making yourself welcome. If you came over to the house and you're like, "Hey, man, I've got my dogs," like we're not gonna be like, "Sorry."
Put your dogs in the
You
fucking
come
room
on
over
in,
there.
man. This is what we're bringing you into the porch, bringing you into the vibe, and seeing what's going on with your vibe, like stuff that we're interested in. And I mean, the music that you sent over is so beautiful. Oh my God. Like it just hit me on the right type of day with the right frame of mind, with the breeze blowing just right. And I just fell in love. It was, and the package was so delicately and beautifully crafted. Like that's the kind of stuff that you remember. It's not just like an Amazon package with the plastic.
Some
It-
bullshit.
It's like a special thing coming to you, like a blessing coming to you, like in the music form, and then in the thought form, and just the cute, like you said, the advertisement, like the proud, like I'm wearing it now because I love it. So thank you for doing all that with just that one gesture. I appreciate that.
Well, the band Pacific Range, the music, the same thing. When I first heard them and first saw them, first met them, first heard the record, everything, I got the same feeling. And I was lucky enough to be able to like, whoa, what can I do with this feeling? You know, I've been helping out, you know, bros and, you know, brothers and sisters who've been playing music for a long time. And I dabbled in, you know, having a label before, but this was the first time I stepped it up and said, man, I feel so good about this. I gotta try to share this feeling. And, you know, just
Well, thank you.
say that makes me happy, because that's what it's supposed to be. Yeah, we want it to take off and go places, but it's really about the feeling. And you know, we've been stepping up our packaging. We started including some mushroom origami and some yeah, because people got stoked on how we were packaging, and Kelly and I started thinking about ways to even make it more rad.
Well, that's how we got with our sponsor, Shop Tour Bus, is because Aaron fell in love with how they were sending out t-shirts. So not only were the t-shirts dope, but like it comes in this awesome box with like stuff you didn't ask for, and then and a bootleg, you know, dead
stuff you didn't ask for.
Yeah, shit. You didn't, and there's something to that, man. Like, and I think that's why we love the music that we love. It's not just music. You're getting something more than what you thought you were going to get. When you sit down and listen to these bands, there's so much to it. And it's a lot like getting that package. you know, you order a t-shirt and then there's a patch in there and there's a note from Brent and there's the album and a CD, whatever.
That's what I love, the vinyl.
That's how the music is too. It keeps unfolding itself like
Mhm.
that. And
that's you keep unfolding the story. I mean, I'll talk about our first release if you
Yeah.
want to really end the
Yeah.
You unfolded your package and you saw the Curation Records t-shirt. Curation Records was started, our very first project on my whiteboard, which is basically in my head, was a brand new Neal Casal solo album.
What?
That's what was supposed to happen. My dear friends, Matt and Kelly, they asked about, you know, funding and partnering in the label. And do you have some things that would be worthwhile? And I just said, Neal Casal solo album. I called Neal. It was right when CRB was starting to announce their hiatus. And there was some confusion there, but Cats was launching, was taking off. So I was also in communique with Gary, his manager. And, you know, one of my last texts from Neal was, "Curation to the world," he said to me, you know, and he said, "Oh, I can't get my head around being a solo artist." I'm like, "Look, we got a label, we got a name, we have funding, we have resources. It's me. I've got all my enthusiasm behind this. And you know how much I love you." And he's always been after me to produce one of his solo records, and I've never been able to do it. And so this was all going to come to be, and it didn't come to be, but in the spirit of I'm sorry.
No,
it's
the
okay,
spirit
man. I'm
keeping
with you.
on, man.
I'm with you,
It's-
dude.
It's hard right now because I don't want to like toot my horn and I don't want to be sad, but I want to say that when what happened last August, it didn't crush me. It actually fueled me to do this. And then
I get it. I
Wow.
So-
he sparked a lot of people.
I was
with
just gonna say that.
it was very depressing for a moment, but then like, I mean, and the way everybody went on and the way Cats continued on, just you know, I mean, Neal brought breath to everybody,
And-
and it keeps on.
and I mean, I didn't know him like you knew him. We met twice, but the times that we sat and talked was extremely profound for me personally.
Yeah.
And not because of like any fanboy thing, but like just in talking to him and connecting with another human being. And what he said to me, we were talking about writing, and I was like, yeah, I write lyrics, but I never let anybody see them. And he was like, dude, you need to let people see that those lyrics could save somebody's life someday.
Oh man.
And when that happened last August, it floored me. It fucked me up.
Yeah.
I felt weird too, like, because I didn't know him, but how crushed I was. I felt like embarrassed. If that makes any sense. Like,
no, it does. And there's a whole lot of mixed feelings, but they're not bad. I mean, the fact that you remembered what he said, that's important. I remember a few like things that he said to me that really relate to the kind of tragic side and the way things folded out. Those things really, those are kind of personal. But the things that are shareable about the music, like this isn't, you know, you guys aren't a Grateful Dead podcast, but I will say that it's really like, it's a great connection. So your listeners would love to know that at Terrapin Crossroads, the very first time Neal, another one of a band that I've been friends with for a long time who were doing well, Mapache.
Oh my
Yes,
goodness.
Sam and Neal, we
Yeah,
love the
They're
guys.
the greatest guys. And the very first time Neal saw them, Ben Knight had got us all a show at Terrapin, and Neal was going to play with the Tide, my brother's band, and I play bass in the Tide as well. So, but at the sound check, Mapache was playing. Neal walked up to me and said, "Wow, you were right. They're so good." And then 2 seconds later, he grabbed me like on the butt and said, I want you to produce my next album." And so all this stuff unfolded. I met Pacific Range through Mapache. You know, those guys have done so much for me. They always say like, "Oh, I helped them," but they've done so much for me in a way of inspiration. that when they started the Grateful Shred, they really, oh my God, I saw the Dead once, and I might have, I had to get American Beauty, but I didn't get American Beauty till 2001 because my band Beachwood Sparks put out a record, and all of a sudden all these people were saying, you got to hear this Grateful Dead record. And, I really got more beyond like my best of and got deeper. But when Sam and Clay and Dan Horn and Austin McCutcheon started the Grateful Shred, and I saw them live, and I listened to the way that Sam and Clay and Austin sang the songs, something that was really familiar to me. It really opened me up to like, Go to Heaven is my favorite album now. And I go deep with the bootlegs, my friends who give me, I go back and find them all, and all the CDRs and all the tapes even, and I've been listening, and I become, super enamored with it, and super like, our first band, Pacific Range, that's the kind of fans that they're kind of like connecting with.
Yeah.
Because they're a great bar band. They are a great live band. And, they sound a little bit more Allman Brothers than they do Dead, but it's all relative. So that moment at Terrapin was really special. And I thought like some of the No Simple Road listeners would like to like put themselves in that moment. They'd rather hear about that than me. Like Phil played with us that night. He played with the Tide, and I'm the bass player. And I'm like, well, what am I supposed to do? And he's like, so we did double basses on a song.
Oh shit.
Wow.
And it was one of our songs. So it was rad. It was a Tide song. And then they wanted to do It's All Over Now, Baby Blue. And I was like, I can't play the bass on this. He told the drummer, do not do a folk rock version of this. We got to do it different. The drummer did a folk rock version of it, but still I couldn't play bass along with it. I just had to listen to him, a guy who's played that song so many times in so many ways. And that's a story. I told the story, but anyway, I was thinking that the listeners.
They're both great stories.
The story of Neal. And, Phil grabbed Mapache right after they finished their sound check and took them onto his tour bus.
Whoa.
And it was a connection. Like he heard them singing. It's like hearing the Everly Brothers.
Oh my God.
Yes.
And Phil just they know a lot about the Dead, of course. They know all the chords and the words to all those songs, but he grabbed them and they were gone for an hour. And I just thought, like, I was tickled pink. I just thought it was amazing.
So Brent, like for you, you're a musician and you're running a label. How do you balance that? Like, it seems like you would have to want to put your energy into one over the other, no?
Yeah, my new album is going to be called Conflict of Interest.
Yeah, no shit, right?
I fucking love it. I'm pre-ordering.
It seems like that would be fucking really hard, man.
T-shirt and sticker.
Yeah.
You know what? It is hard because my music is kind of taking a back seat. Gospel Beach is my main band. I started that band with Neal Casal and a guy named Tom Sanford in 2015. But Neal, that's when CRB was really taking off. So
they were hot.
Yeah, and Neal rejoined us and did our last album, Let It Burn, with us, and that was it's our best album. It's our most successful, and it's something else I wanted. When you were saying you were thinking about your feelings about Neal.
Yeah.
Something that really needs to be said, and I wish it didn't have to be said, but I don't have to claim any special friendship with Neal. I know who we were to each other, and I know what he wanted. And Neal promoted himself. He wasn't just going through life with all this stuff happening. He was making these things happen.
Yeah.
In the music game, you got to do it, So I just don't want anybody to ever think that, anybody's like, kind of trying to garner attention because of associations with Neal and with what happened. That's always a really tender subject with me.
Has that happened? Because I guess I don't see that part, I don't.
It hasn't happened, but I really worry about it. Like,
what I love is being able to talk about it like this, so that if there was a misunderstanding and maybe somebody had it out there that happened to listen to this, if they're like, oh, all right,
that's
like
what it was.
That's cool, instead of like kind of like to overtelling a secret or something.
Yeah, no, you're right.
No,
you're right.
everybody who Neal touched they loved him. And
which
you know,
was everybody.
yeah,
Everybody we talk. That's what I love about our community. We haven't talked to anybody over years, even before last August. Everybody knew Neal. Everybody ran across Neal. They played with Neal. Neal was everywhere.
yeah.
No.
You know?
So I think everybody can claim a little bit of Neal.
Yeah.
I don't think anybody should feel ashamed of that. I remember grabbing him 2 waters, and that's like my thing. It was so special, like, because he was
Hydrate.
No.
we just had our special moment too. But like, this is great for people, because I know a lot of people in the community were hurting and reached out to the show and just.
No, and it's true. I want that's the main goal here is to we're always celebrating him, but it's the healing and the feeling. Like we all know him. Like the only thing that I miss so much, but the one thing when you start talking about your moment with him, it's like I always want to pull him in and closer next time and smell him and like, God, we were so close, but I wanted to be closer now that he can't be. And I want people to hear his solo music, and I want people to know that CRB ran its course naturally, and these are the things that I'm like alluding to with like, he's not around to say like, oh, would he have posted that?
Yeah.
Would he have said that? Would he have lent his name to that? But the answer to all those things is yes, because the one thing Neal never said was no, unless it was something selfish for him. Like needed money isn't the right word. He was wondering financially what he was going to do. He's like, I'm out of a job. And I'm like, I have a label. Tell me your bank information right now, and I'll put the money into the account.
Yeah.
And, oh, Brent, don't do that. I'm like, it's like, I'm not asking for anything in return, just that you make a record, and I really love that moment. I was working at a design firm, and should have been working, but I was actually sitting there talking to Neal and texting, and I was like telling him, and he sent me a message back. No, it wasn't like the exact words, but I think knowing that was there for him really helped him.
Oh,
Yeah.
right
Yeah. Well, yeah.
on.
Having all of us go through that, man. Like if you're floating in the breeze with putting your creativity out there and you don't know where the next thing is going to come, knowing that there's a safety net out there for you gives you a freedom to continue to create.
Yeah.
It's just the way it is.
It doesn't leave you bound up.
Yeah. It gives you space in your head. And that's really important for everybody that is creative, to have that space, because if you're worried about paying the electric bill or where your next meal is going to come from, there could be a great song that's in that could be taking up that space in there.
Yeah. And the music business is hard because there are, I had some of the kind of the worst experiences of my life in, signed to a big label who gave a lot of money for you to have that freedom. But the creativity that freedom didn't always yield the best work.
Right.
So it's kind of got to be an honest thing. Hold on, let me close this door.
Yeah, yeah.
My neighbors are working on their house on Sundays. I love it. I guess every day is Sunday.
Right now it is.
But that feeling, that space, it has to come from the right place. I just know, because I've been through it. This is what, like, musicians who get to like work with me, they're lucky because I have all this experience. I've had some successes, but I've had a ton of failures. I hate to say it. And I've learned from those. I haven't been able to apply them always to myself, but I can really help other people a lot. And one of the thing is, like, when somebody writes you a check, it's not a magical it doesn't solve your problems magically, especially if you're an artist or a writer or whatever. It's you need that balance.
Yeah.
But when it's coming from a friend or a source or somebody that you really trust, oh my gosh, there's like that's
well, and it's belief too. It's belief in you. Like,
that's the main thing.
Yes. Like knowing somebody is like, look, man, my money's on you. Like, that is that's what makes your heart feel like you can create. Because you're talking about up here in your head about bills. Well, then how about like in your heart? Like, that just kind of gets soothed by like, wow.
I'll tell you what though, like during this whole COVID thing that's going on, I've really had a different outlook on money. Money seems really strange right now to me, and like,
So strange.
right, and the idea of it even seems weird anymore. And so, like, you're talking about a friend writing you a check. That's like me giving you my intention. Do you know what I'm saying? Like, here's my belief and my intention in the
Yeah.
form of ones and zeros in a computer, so that you can pull out of yourself what you want to create. And that's huge. If it, and like you said, if it's coming from outside your circle, it is different, because there's not that belief attached to it. So that's huge. Like, if Apple was to come to me and say, or you, and say, you know what, I believe in No Simple Road, and I'm going to give you guys $50,000 so that you don't have to work this year, so you could do the show or whatever, right?
Yeah.
That would be way different than if Bank of America did that for me.
Yeah.
It would have a completely different vibe to it.
Yeah, it's true.
Yeah.
Unless, of course, one of your killer bros scored a job at B of A.
That's
Yeah,
true.
They're like, hey,
Now
I've infiltrated. I've got my hands on the stash, and I'm gonna make. See, that's what the label, like Curation Records, is like one of my favorite labels ever. Is called Curation Records from England. They were around in the late '80s and most of the '90s. It was Alan McGee's label from Scotland. The biggest group that I think he signed was Oasis, but the bands like My Bloody Valentine and
Oh,
Primal
wow.
Scream and Teenage Fan Club and so many of the early bands that he did, just so great. So I love that label, but I love David Geffen, Asylum Records. Most of my records, if you look at them, most of them they're all used copies, but like what I love, that kind of Southern California rock, it's on Asylum. So, and that was an artist-driven label by a guy that wasn't an artist, but he really, really seemed to have an insight into what an artist needs to create.
Right.
And I tried to merge the two ideas of those two labels together for Curation, because I just didn't want to say, oh, I just want to make a label and make all my friends, famous and sell a lot of records and buy a house or whatever. It's like, it's so much more than that. It's like deeper and deeper, and it comes from the person who believed in me. Like my partner in the label, he's got like, his businesses are, giant cannabis grows in Colorado, growing the organic CBD cannabis, and
That's my jam.
Heck yeah.
yeah. And I was like, well, okay, record label's kind of the same thing, it's a good place to invest, you like music.
Close enough.
Yeah.
But I just been like really lucky to have somebody who I trust have that belief in me, and then I'm trying to pass it on to, like, okay, so Pacific Range, I came to those guys and I was like, saw them at, I think it was Shred Fest.
Right.
Those guys do, and I had seen them before and I loved them, but they're just blowing me away every time. And I go I go farther back than Neal is Dan Horn.
Oh,
Him
wow.
and I met in like the weird days before, like when it would be like, I brought him into my band Beachwood Sparks, but he was actually recording like a rock record I was trying to make in 2004 or 5. But well, actually, I guess I knew Neal before that. But Dan had recorded the Pacific Range album, so it was like a no-brainer. It's like, these are all my friends, Mapache's singing on it, Dan's recorded it. I already, everything just lined up perfect, and I just kind of just said the same thing. I was like, hey, I have some resources. Can I help you? And they were into it, and so far it's really working out really well. It's a success in the fact that we're all happy, and the people that hear it love it.
Yep.
And
the artwork too.
Throats. Oh, that's incredible.
So who's the artwork from?
This is a guy, Brian Blommerth, and I actually had seen some of his artworks. He did a Riley Walker album, and I thought that was an amazing cover. And actually the band hooked up a deal with them before they signed to the label, hooked up a deal with Brian. So, when a band's like independently doing a record, they go to an artist and say, hey, can you do our cover? And they're like, yeah. it's this much money. Then they say they're signed to a label, and I'm like, oh yeah, now it's this much money.
Yeah, now it's more.
It doubles. I'm like, wait, I'm not a label. I'm just a guy with 4 dogs. Let's not go crazy here. But no, it's yeah, the cover art's great. The recording is great. It's like it sounds like LA feels right now.
Yes, it does sound and feel like LA.
Did he do that video as well? Where they're in
No, that was a French guy. That was the only non-California. Everything is, I try to make it made in California. That's another curation thing. But my friend Cyril, I saw a video on Instagram from a friend of Neal's. This is another connection. It's like, you know, when Neal passed, everybody reached out to each other, and somebody had reached out to me and said, I don't know you, but I was friends with Neal. He sang on my record once, or I knew him. Check out my music. And I saw a video that Cyril did for her, and I asked if he could do one for Pacific Range, and he nailed that.
So fucking cool, man. That was the first, I think that was like one of the first exposures I had to them. And I was like, I want to know more. When I saw that, like instantly.
Well, it's a little bit silly. That they were a little worried that it was too, like, you know, like not silly, but just not like cool. You know, I think they wanted to do something like
fucking fun.
I know, but that was like the first thing of me having to say, guys, trust me, it's fun. People that aren't you, they're not going to say, oh, these guys are a bunch of chumps. They're just going to be like, that's fun, you know, and that's going to be something that's going to be around for a long time, because like my kind of plan with this whole label isn't just to like, oh, okay, let's do the pre-sale, and then, you know, this blog is going to do the premiere of the video, and then the record's done, you know, and it's all going to be done within a week.
That's so true. I always wondered about that. What happens to ongoing like promoting it? Like you hear 2 songs and then you're done.
Yeah, it's just because you have to, like, not, you don't have to, but my plan is to really stretch it out, and just to not, like, it doesn't matter if everybody sees it at once. If they see it at some point, then I'm going to be happy. And like, you know, shoot, man, those guys, another person that your listeners might know is Dave Schools. And they've already been in the studio with Dave for a whole nother record, like a 12-inch that we were going to do. You know how back in the well, you guys.
I'm 48. Apple's 50. Mel's,
I'm 42.
Mel's 42.
Okay. Before your guys' time, before your time. No, and you know, you collect records, so you know there's a 12-inch is something that's really gone by the wayside, like the extended 12-inch. So when I got with Pacific Range and they had their album done, I said, why don't we make like an extended, like, you know, just go in the studio and play a 30-minute song. Do what you do live, but we'll do it in the studio.
Right.
And we'll do it on a 45 RPM 12-inch, so it'll sound really fat with the super fat grooves. And they went in the studio with Dave Schools and a really cool engineer who was from TRI. You know, is that right?
Yeah, TRI's right.
Yeah. And so it was all, they were up in Oakland too, so it was all very dead infused, and they just like rocked it. So that's something that's coming, you know, something that's like on deck. And I just want it to be like, I don't want like the album to be old news, or the band to be old. Oh, remember them? They came out and you know, Rolling Stone premiered their video, and you know, they got 650 likes or whatever. It's like, that's
thumbs
like,
up and one heart. Yeah.
I've been through Twitter followers, Spotify listeners, playlists. I've been through how many people can you draw to your show? You know, I've just been around, so I just know that all those things don't matter, because I wouldn't still be around today if they did, because I've never had any of those. But I'm still around and still helping people.
Wow.
So, and people are still coming to me all the time. Can you help me? And I'm like, well, how can I help you?
So it's like you're really like just innovating it based on what you've seen through your experiences, and doing something rad that it's not like, you know, one and done kind of a thing.
Yeah.
It's keeping it going and keeping they're very relevant. That's another thing that I remember about it. I felt like it was just so appropriate for what's going on right now. And like the feeling that it mustered was like a salve for this time right now.
Totally.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You
I
know,
listen to it every morning. And I've had the record digitally for a year, and the only thing that's moved it off my turntable was I finally got the new Mapache record, and
oh,
Yeah, it's so
now I switch it. But no, you're right. And the lyrics and the sound, another thing that's really that really makes them relevant is when this is over and the doors get opened up, they are an incredible live band. Actually, I'm kind of glad that the Pacific Range album came out the way it's coming out. I don't like what's going on, and nobody in their right mind would. But if you want to think of a silver lining, now everybody can really get familiar with the songs, and then they can see the band live. If you went the opposite way with Pacific Range, their album is like song oriented, like American Beauty meets like Eat a Peach maybe,
right.
but without the live side. But if you saw them live and then you got their record, you'd be like, this is a little more laid back. This is a little more soothing. But now that the record is out there and those people have the songs, it's like the way the Dead did it. They hear the records and then they go see them live and hear what the band does with it. Because the band can raise the vibrations if you're I've seen them in sports bars. I've seen them in a patio. I've seen them in concerts. I saw them open for Circles Around the Sun. I saw them everywhere you could possibly see them, and they always deliver. And that is not like a selling point, like, hey, buy this record. This is just like, that's fucking hard when you're a band.
That is fucking hard.
To put it out.
You can always deliver, man.
Yeah.
The good ones usually suck every other time.
Even Jerry said that. He was like, man, they can't all be zingers. Fucking. But you know that you brought up something that's unique to the community that we're a part of, man. And that whole thing of like the one and done or the one hit wonder, I don't really see that anymore with this scene. These bands come and people feel it, and then they attach to that feeling and they attach to the band. And once you attach, it was like that with Circles Around the Sun and CRB. I heard it, I attached to the sound, then I wanted to see the thing grow. I wanted to watch it happen. Just like if you plant a seed, you want to see the plant come up and get the fruit from it. That's how I felt with CRB, with Circles, and with these guys. Like, I want to see what happens, so I'm going to stay engaged with it through the lifespan of it. Yeah,
well, the industry outside of like the community isn't really, that's not what they're after. They want the big buck and they want it fast and they want it soon. It's like, you know, I have a really good friend who is the head of A&R at Rhino Records, and Jason Jones, and I got to go down there and I got to meet Mark Pincus. So I got to see a band that I absolutely admire everything about, like the Dead, and see who's handling, how they're doing it, and get like advice from these guys. And that was just, and I'm still in touch with them, and it's been really, really incredibly helpful, because like, you know, that's a pretty large indie world. It's all in the Warner's thing now, you know what I mean? But Rhino, you know, came up doing all these rad compilations, and the fact that the Dead ended up on Rhino Records, and that's who has their catalog and has the that's like perfect. So I've been trying to take a lot of cues in a very small way, and they're all about reissues and things, you know, like, oh, the Stooges' new, you know, comprehensive reissue of Funhouse with the original tapes and all that. That's well beyond some guy who's got or girl, just whoever has a label and they're trying to like, hear me now and get all the likes on Spotify and all the, you know what I mean? It's like, and they're all actually, I think most people in the industry are going to turn to like what I call like the corporate hippie ideal. You know what I mean? They're going to see that this is the only place generating revenue,
right?
For rock and roll.
But you know, there's something underneath all of this that we have to mention. It's like there's magic in this music. All of it.
Oh, without the music, it's nothing.
There's magic that lives in this music, and so I think without the business side of it, there's still life in it because of that magic. That magic turns people on. It changes people's outlook. It alters our realities.
And you can't fake it.
It creates relationships.
So you think that instead of somebody looking at it saying that people are, because I do get a little cynical and I have to watch myself, because I would never like change my music to like say to fit into any kind of like, oh, that's popular now, so I'm going to no, and I would never sign a band because of that. There has to be a real connection.
Right.
And Chris Robinson, who was another really good friend and a big supporter of mine, and I heard him on Howard Stern, one of my favorite shows, and he was really going off on people who were sucking on the teat of the dead and that community. And I started thinking about how many people that I know that are involved in the community and not taking advantage. That's what they love, and that's what they've always loved. Yeah, I forgot that, you know, do you guys follow the skateboarding world much?
No, not anymore. I used to.
Just passed away, Jeff Grosso. He skated for Santa Cruz.
I know who he is. Yeah.
He did those love letters to skateboarding for Vans on YouTube. It was a really popular show, and he just dissected skateboarding. Great guy, incredible. He passed away recently, but I was actually in a crazy backyard Inland Empire, like kind of Van Halen punk band with him for one or two shows back in the 80s.
Right.
And the other singer in that band was this guy, Pete Corona, and the band was called the Insulters. Well, the guys who were putting on this backyard party was Chris Mitrovich, who does Skull and Roses.
Yeah.
So, and Pete Corona now has a band, the Alligators.
Right.
They're the Pigpen cover band.
Right.
So, and these are guys I've known since 1987, and they used to sing the Dead to me all the time, and I'd be like, yeah, I dig it. I'd be like,
Get it, man.
listen, check out the Water Boys. You know, I would like try to get them to listen to some 80s band I was listening to.
Check out Butthole Surfers.
Yeah, but I started thinking about all these people that are really connected in the community, like I think that you're talking about, and it's great. I could probably connect so many dots.
Yeah.
And I never even like think to reach out to those people. I just like was listening to your podcast about, you had Steve Parrish on.
Right.
And you're talking about Skull and Roses coming up. This is before COVID, so somebody said there was too many bands.
Yeah.
That was funny.
It's probably him.
It was. Yeah, I think I know who it was. But anyway, I thought that was amazing because I love those. I haven't been up to that festival, but I can't believe that I know that I'm so close with the guy who, you know, that I've known him for years, you know.
Yeah. Well,
and just started peeling back the layers, and you can see, you know, I think Chris did a lot. I think CR and Neal did a lot to bring in a lot of like rock and rollers into that scene.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. It turned a lot of people on.
Sure.
Man. The Chris Robinson Brotherhood turned a lot of people on. And, you know, the thing that I see now, and you mentioned it at the beginning, like, this isn't a Grateful Dead podcast.
It started out that way.
It started as that.
Yeah.
And I thought of myself as a Deadhead for a really long time. And I realized that that's not the case, that I'm a music lover. I love music. It doesn't matter if it's the Dead. It's music is the thing that turns me on. And I see the Dead in the world that we're in as like a trunk of the tree. You know what I mean? There's all these bands that have come out of that thing, if doing 2 sets, playing extended jams. That is a thing that they brought to life. And so now there's all these bands that are doing that thing.
Building your own sound system.
Yeah, it's not. I don't think it's
creating your own everything, and not just relying on somebody else to make your backstage passes, to book your venues, to do whatever it is. And I would encourage so many people out there. I mean, the one thing that's hard to do is book yourself. That's really, really hard.
Yeah.
But the easiest thing to do is to be your own record label. But if you can get your own manager and your own booking, another booking agent, and get somebody to help promote you, and a few other things, those things are hard to do yourself. But the easiest thing to do yourself is to be your own record label. It doesn't take a lot. It doesn't mean that you don't need other people to help you, but like, just think about the Dead's struggles on Warner Brothers. you
Right.
know. And when the dust settled, they put all the blame on themselves. They were blaming, you know, the fuck you text or the fax or whatever.
Right.
They were blaming the record company and the studios and the producers for a long time. But I think when the dust settled, they realized that,
It's on us.
yeah, that's a hard thing to do, is go in the studio and record. So it's like, I don't know. Did they ever start Grateful Dead Records? I mean, what was their label I don't know enough about them. You
Round
should ask every guest you have on the show like 5 Grateful Dead questions. And
That's one of them. What label?
No, I think it ended up being Round Records is what it ended up being at the end of the day.
I'm sure somebody's going to go.
Yeah, no, you're wrong. It's fucking Warner Brothers, whatever.
I mean, I saw the Dead at the Coliseum in 1991, one of the most notorious, worst shows ever. And people that I tell that to, they're just like, "Oh, dude, you totally missed out," you know?
Yeah,
And it's like, yeah, it was hard. There was a big fight between the cops and the head, and the band wasn't very. I guess it almost. I don't know if it was in June or it was in April. I know it was really hot.
So tell me, Brent, Curation Records, like the name Curation.
Yeah,
What's the thought behind it? Why?
that is because I am supposed to be the one. It's going to live or die by the way I curate it, the way I find the bands, the way I present the bands, the way, you know, the way I work with everybody who's promoting it, everybody who's helping me with the label. It's not just about my word and what I say and what my taste and how I curate it. It's about, like, you kind of come on board with what I say, and then you bring what you can, and then we're just going to take and just to answer the question more simply, the main goal was just to curate this local scene here on the northeast side of Los Angeles. I just really wanted to put out Neal's record, and I really wanted to do Mapache's records. They signed, by the time I was getting my resources together, they signed to a bigger label, which is amazing, and they're doing great, and I'm really, really happy for them. I don't think that Curation is probably like a stop on the way to somewhere bigger, unless we really can build it into something good. But it was for Neal, it was for Mapache, it was for Beachwood Sparks, my other band, to get back together and make a new studio album. And I really wanted a place for Gospel Beach to make an album, because those records have been on another label, so I don't have the control of the way they're presented. And
Right.
and so that you know, I think and I told you, Curation Records was a big inspiration.
Mm-hmm.
So Curation, I was in Costco, and I saw a big bunch of artichokes, and it said Curation Foods, and I was like, boom, I'll take
There
that.
it is. What
Heck yeah.
What is it about California, man? What is it about the earth
It's
there
the
that
vibe,
creates
man.
that sound? What the fuck, man?
Well, I'll tell you, when you get to the border, they give you a Jackson Browne album
Yeah.
and a joint.
Right. And keep driving.
And they say, if you can make a living on this, then you can.
Yeah.
No, it's, you know what? The thing is, it is incredible out. It is so California. I moved here from the Gulf Coast of Florida in 1987. And man, it used to be a lot better. I even love Hollywood, you know? That was something that like LA, that's something that my partners in the label and I talked about. We didn't want to be, you know, it's not just about the California sound, it's about the California way of doing things. You know, you can get some things done and hustle some things. If you do it right, you're not like, you know, there's a difference between like the Donnie and Marie show and the Glenn Campbell show, or the Johnny Cash show. You know, they both had like Friday night television programs, and one was really cool and one was kind of cheesy. They were both entertaining, but there's a way to do this. These like I ended up on Geffen Records in the 80s, and that was a bad experience. We had a band called Shadowland, and me and my brother, and we had a lot of money put into us, and they were like, oh, you guys are the new Buffalo Springfield. They saw us playing Birds covers in a local club called Club Lingerie, and Geffen signed us. And at the same time, David Geffen was going to restart Asylum Records, which is, you know, my dream label. It's like all the bands that I just, all the, you know, it's just, that was just a moment in time in that, for the California sound, you know, from Joni to Jackson to everything. And they said, David Geffen's going to restart the label called Asylum Records. Do you want to be on it? And we said, yes. And then they said, oh no, we couldn't get the rights. They're going to call it DGC Records. And we said, no, we'll stick on Geffen. And anyway, our record flopped. We didn't listen. You know, Nirvana made it huge and put Geffen, you know, I guess Guns N' Roses and Nirvana. We were kind of in between the two. So I just got a real glimpse of what LA can do to you the wrong way. It's not all about feeding you money and renting you cars and renting you a house and saying you guys are going to be the next thing. You know, it actually, we were a good band. We were great musicians, and I mean, we were a great, we had good well, yeah, we were shitty musicians, but we really had heart. We really did. We were cool. I thought we were really cool. We came from Florida, and it was that belief that a label like that put in us that almost kind of fucked us up. Kind of make us think like, yeah, maybe we are fucking cool, you know. And like we're going to work every day at the rehearsal studio like we're going to a job. Really fucking stupid, man. But
there goes the magic. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, but that, you know what? That's the shit though. Like you said earlier, you were like, I've done a lot of things right and I've made a lot of mistakes and I've learned a lot of shit. We don't learn from the stuff we did right. We learn from the shit we fucked up. The times
that's why I'm the wisest man on the planet. You know, Pacific Range, I can see their eyes rolling in their head when I have a meeting with them and I say, oh, don't do that. I did this and that. But I have all these references, and when I try to like give them that advice, I will say how the Geffen thing ended though. It's dead related.
Oh shit.
They put us on tour with the Meat Puppets. At the time they were on SST Records.
Right.
They weren't on the major label yet. So we had a bigger tour bus and we were opening for them, and we were some band on Geffen, and they were traveling with their weed and their bong in a trailer, and they had this killer kind of punk community dead following.
I remember they were awesome back in the day.
And they're incredible. Like their music live sounded nothing like on their records. Right. Everything jammed and it was faster and it's cool. Well, we saw them and we're like, oh fuck, we're totally doing this wrong. You know, we think we're going to be, you know, something else. You know what I mean? We were just knew that we were doing it wrong. So we came back. We started a band called Further. You know, we took the name off the front of the bus and we started our own label. And from there, I ended up on Sub Pop Records with Beachwood Sparks, which is a decent label. And I learned a lot more lessons, but the good kind of lessons. Yeah. And I'm still friends with them today. And they still help with the label, but not with the label, but they still help me in as, you know, anything I need. But and that experience, those experiences that I got, I can give to the bands that I'm helping out now and stuff. And even like the moves that we make as a label, you know, Sub Pop made it because they were cool. They weren't just some chump label saying, oh, buy everything. And you know,
that was from the heart. Sub Pop was from the heart.
Yeah. And that's what we are. It's like the heart it's like, it's not even, it's beyond from the heart now. It's from honestly, whatever's left of me is in this label.
That's fucking beautiful.
I've been through so much with people who know.
Even all these bands that you've been in, I'm like, damn.
She's got a list over here.
Like, you have done some stuff.
If you asked me a list of the bands I've opened for, your jaw would drop, and then you would also know when your other friends are complaining that they didn't get the opening for some band, you tell them that's not a fucking way to make it. Because I've opened for every single person from, you know, I've opened from every band from Duran Duran to, you know, I got to think of somebody cool like CRB.
Okay.
And it doesn't matter. You only who you are. you know, like the Black Crowes. That's how I met Chris. The Black Crowes. Chris was a big fan of the first Beachwood Sparks album. He showed up at the Mercury Lounge in New York City at one of our shows, and we were pretty stoked because it was sold out. Chris comes walking in with Kate. At the time, he was married to Kate Hudson. Came down to the dressing room. We're sitting there staring at him like, oh my God, this guy from the Black Crowes in our dressing room. Pulls out the full-on Cheech and Chong size joint.
Big fucking.
Yeah. We all smoke because I still smoked a lot back then. But, you know, after the show, we're like, come back. Hey, man, that was all right. I was like, yeah, thanks for ruining the show. We were fucking floored, man.
Your pants?
Yes. Like, I just remember, like, I felt okay. I got on the stage and looked at it. It was our first sellout in New York. We sold out the Mercury Lounge. Felt pretty good, but I was putting my bass on, and the drummer tapped me, and he's like, hey, nice little crowd out there. And the way he said it, and I was so stoned, I just felt like, fuck, I don't even want to be here. I was just like,
I hide inside my bass cabinet for the show. Yeah, no, I've been there.
It was like, Chris, what was in that stuff? And I remember him just like laughing, and then he invited us over to his loft in Soho and got us stoned again. And then I was stoned in New York.
and then I was stoned.
And then he took us on tour, and I was like, oh, you know, here's a funny story. So Pacific Range was playing with Howlin' Rain and Gospel Beach up at the chapel, and CR was DJing. And CR and Camille were going to DJ. And Pacific Range started playing, and Chris just like loves them. He's like, it's the Grateful Dead. That's his quote. I want to use that quote, but he'll kill me. I just want to put in quotes. It's the Grateful Dead.
Chris Robinson.
Yeah, he put his hands and he went, it's the Grateful Dead. Well, he said he wanted to talk to the guys. I said, guys, do not, they all smoke and they all,
Don't smoke with him before the show.
I just said, be careful. And they said, don't worry. Somebody already told us.
Oh, shit. Hey, that's one of those lessons that you learn the hard way. Fuck.
And that was that was one of the best. I can't wait to get back to live music, because my band played that night. We had to play after Pacific Range, and it was hard. And I think we did good. Chris really liked it, and I remember Charlie Sexton was there, and he grabbed me and said he liked the show. But Pacific Range was on fire that night. Like a packed chapel in San Francisco. Most people never even heard their name, and they just blew everybody away. And it was like when I saw Nirvana open for Dinosaur Jr. before Nevermind was out. I was just like, whoa.
Yeah.
I know every one of these songs right now on my way to the car, and I'm like probably number one Dinosaur Jr. fan on my block.
You got a couple Dinosaur Jr. fans here too.
But I was like, uh-oh.
Mm-hmm.
My legs started hurting during like Thumb. You know what I mean? I was like, okay, guys, get it over with, you know, because it was so good. But that's what Pacific Range that night with that Chris DJ, they were so incredible. I can't wait for this to be over for people to see them.
Well, you and I talked about it a little bit when we talked on the phone the other day. Like, there was a lot getting ready to happen before everything got shut down. How do you think this, like, what do you see happening? Do you see live music coming back soon?
I'm the eternal optimist. I'm the, like, everybody. Yeah, I do. And, you know, I already got a text from, you know, Folk Yeah, Britt, one of the just talk about somebody that holds the West Coast together. He's like, let's do 3 nights residency with Pacific Range at the chapel. Special low ticket price. Get everybody stoked about coming around live music again. I mean, I don't know if I should say this, but that's just like, to me, that's happening.
Well, this will be out in probably 2-3 weeks. So
even though Huichica, their festival that in Sonoma that they were going to play got moved to October, and Hypnic, another one that we're all going to play, got moved to this September. I think music for small venues are going to come back soon. And I'm not saying this isn't like anybody just shut the fuck up, because I don't know what I'm talking about. I'm not.
We're allowed to have opinions, shit.
This is my opinion. My opinion is it's going to be okay. the damage is done. And I'm sad about the damage. I just finished a tour. Gospel Beach went to Spain, England, Norway, Sweden, and Denmark. And all the train stations and airplanes and airports and hotels and restaurants and clubs, that close contact that we have, we play anywhere from 100 people to 500 a night in those cities. Right. And everybody wants to hang out and sign their record. And that was February 11th all the way to March 2nd. And then we came back and I was like, oh, fuck, we are fucked. And Johnny, our keyboard player, who's also the producer in Gospel Beach, he has a compromised immune system and diabetes. And I was like, I'm so fucking frightened right now. And then I turned off the news and I started just texting with him. And he's like, I'm fine. Hey, we're doing this. And then I talked to everybody involved in that tour. I made it a point to reach out to every promoter, every fan that we talked to on Instagram. Hey, are you guys okay? I just, that was gnarly. We knew about it, but nobody told us to stay home. There was like warnings, but it wasn't like, don't go. Like,
yeah, no one knew how severe it was. There was no way to tell.
Or not severe.
Yeah.
Or anything.
Yeah. So I'm just starting to like think that, okay, we lived through it. Not everybody lived through it, but not everybody lives anyway. But
damage is done.
Let them play. I don't even want to go on tour. I don't care if I play another show. I just know that Pacific Range, a band that I've been in before, where you work so hard, and these guys, they're not some like, hey, let's start this band. They're like in it.
Yeah, it's right.
They're hungry, but it's because they love it. And all the work, they played chicken coops and every outhouse and townhouse and farmhouse and set up on the beach. I'm serious. These guys, the last tour they went on, I'd be like, send me pictures, and they'd be set up on a roof at a winery.
Oh,
or in a park. They play 3 times a day sometimes, and and bring their own PA on tour, like the Grateful Dead.
Wow!
But stick it in a little van. So they were all ready with the album and my like help behind them and all the hard work they've been doing. Sorry if I'm rambling, but this is
I'm enjoying the shit out of it.
You're making me fall in love with them. That's so
cute.
They
were so ready to like explode. Like I just like. They were actually like, I could see it in their eyes. Wow. And then when this happened, my heart broke for them. It just broke for them. And it wasn't about the record sales or the money it was just like, they were going to experience what it means to work at something you love and to have it, have it come true. It was all, they had already got the like, oh, this guy thinks you're great. This girl loves your songs. They've already got those accolades and they don't care. They want to reach the people. They want to get to your town and you guys come to the show.
Yeah.
Right.
And hang out.
Yeah.
And they just like, they want that part where they extend one of their songs Coming After You, and when it goes back into the song and the crowd goes crazy and they don't even know the fucking song.
Well, I tell you what, man, I fucking can't wait.
I know. I'm excited.
What's the first show what if you had a dream band to see when this is over, what would it be?
For me, I'll throw it out there. I think you'll all agree because I was looking so forward to it and the new album, Cats. We were going to be going and seeing Cats. They were heading back up here, and that band just gets it so good.
My dream is to see Radiohead again, for them to come back through.
Yeah.
I mean, I know it's way out there, but
you love what you love. You gotta love
man.
your fans.
I gotta say, I gotta agree with Apple. Radiohead or
Cats.
Cats. Like Circles Around the Sun.
That's what we're really looking forward to.
Well, I love. Okay, I got so many Cats stories. I'll tell you a couple of them. One of them was when Pacific Range got the opening for Cats at Zebulon. I know the owners of Zebulon. I know Dan. Neal was still around when the show was booked. And I said, oh shit, if I can get Pacific Range on this show, it'd be rad. So I made some calls. I got some like, yeah, we love those guys. But hold on, there's some corporate interests that want to get their bands on here. But I said, come on, man. And I pushed a little bit, but it's B-Rad. I have to like, that's what I do. You know what I mean? It's like, I never say, hey, but I helped you, but I said at that time, I think I had to get them on the show because my whole point wasn't, I knew they're going to blow the crowd away, but I wanted Neal to see them and say, is this your band? These guys? You know what I mean? Because I don't know how much he was familiar with them, but I don't know if he actually got to actually see them play because every time they were always like on a different stage or whatever. So I'm like, I got a little surprise for you. So anyway, the show, things went down like they did, and the show did happen, and the guys did great. The guys were amazing, and shoot, Dan produced the album, so of course he wants to help. But Dan is like, that's the thing about Circles. He got left a really. They built that into something, and then he now he's like, you can't just walk away from something like that.
No.
You shouldn't have to.
No.
That's a freight train.
No.
It's a total freight. I remember them telling me that in the kind of like, I'll just say the jam scene world, they had reached a tier, and it was like they couldn't believe it. They were happy. They were so happy. They weren't like, hey, we're great. They were like, whoa, we worked hard. We did this from the heart. It was a fluke. It wasn't a band like, hey, we're going to be, we're not like some prefab band. They just made their stuff fairly well. And then it got to play one show. It was only going to be one show. Then it turned into these guys have something. And the guys couldn't be cooler. I mean, Adam, come on. And Mark.
Sweethearts, man. That's just brothers.
Those, I feel like Cats is, if we had like, there's a couple bands that would be this, but like that, they just have such a deep place in the heart of our show. Like having all of them on the show and just seeing them when we did. And I remember when we didn't know it was Eric Krasno that was going to be filling in.
Yeah.
And I love Eric. I love him. I love what he does. I love his funky style. But I was bummed just because Neal wasn't there. That's all. It had nothing to do with anybody else. And I kind of, I was like, okay, I'll like it, but, kind of not giving Eric a chance, just whatever. And then I don't know what happened, but
and then
like
the drugs kicked in.
Well, yeah, maybe the drugs kicked in, but you know what? Like after two songs, Eric, I don't know, he created Outer Space and took us with him, and made me love the band even more. And I just like when it comes to Cats and each one of the individual guys in that band, they are so solid and so heartfelt, and that's why the music is so amazing.
And you can see that same thing with Pacific Range.
Yeah,
you can
feel it.
Yeah.
You can feel
they have chemistry, and each one of the guys are guys that you want to hug from, and you want to hug from them, or you want to talk about. You want to be friends with these guys. They're so cool. When you
on the show,
when you pulled Neal away from Cats, it made me realize like, oh wow, now I can really find out who Mark is. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And then once I did, and then I saw, of course we had to see him. Where we really got to know each other was at the Neal tributes, which wasn't easy. That was where we got to like be more like, like recognize who each other are. But now since I've seen him since then, and I've got to just really study his playing, because it was always for me. I opened for Cats acoustically down in Solano Beach a couple years ago, and man, I just always loved that band. The last time I took acid was Neal's last show here at 420 Fest. That was an incredible show. The live tape of it, Dan just remastered the audio and put it on somewhere you can listen to, and I listened to it. There's also a video that my friend Christian shot that's amazing. But that show, I just remember how I stood right in front of the stage, right on the side of the stage, and watched every note, and I watched every change, and it felt like I never went away for a beer, never went to take a piss, never did anything.
That's the good shit.
Blown away by it, and it was just a real great moment, and that's. Yeah, seeing them, that'd be a great band to see. would love to see him. I was gonna get real deep, but I don't want to.
It's okay.
That's
I just want. It was. You don't know how proud I was, and I'll just tell you. I will tell a secret about Neal. He, like there was these two guys that were walking out behind me and went like, "Wow, that was some legit shredding," And I was like, "That's so funny because, I know Neal was like, he wants to be Jackson Browne. That's what I knew Neal. That's how when I met Neal, I didn't know him gonna be Jerry Garcia, but I saw Neal after that show and I was tripping a little bit and I was like, dude, you guys really, it's just, I did like this show. I like our new sound man, but he just would not take a compliment, and it wasn't in a weird way. He didn't want me to say it twice. He just was like, he just couldn't see like just how incredible, like now the four of us are sitting here talking about it. And it's not just him, it's the band, but that,
Yeah. It's a lot.
Hard. And there's no words.
No.
No
Mm-mm.
fucking lyrics.
No.
Brent,
Nobody's
is
saying
it easy
fucking
for you to accept compliments like that? Like when somebody's like, damn man,
Oh, I just say you're crazy and I just walk away.
But do you see how hard it is? It's so hard to realize what an impact your creativity has brought someone else, because you're always so self-conscious of what you put out. So once somebody compliments that, you're like, what? You're like trying to cover it up again.
Me?
But
Well, you know what? The bigger the show and the bigger the like triumph, the harder it is. It really is. It's like because I have opened for so many bands, and I remember. Then I stay around to watch the headliner. Then you see this band that's been on tour for 6 months, 2 months, whatever, for their whole lives basically, and you get up, hey, that was a fucking great show. They just look at you like you're out of your fucking mind. Like telling the Black Crowes, that was a great show tonight. You know what I mean? It's like, I don't want to hear that. They've already been played. So I know kind of the bigger the show, the harder it is to accept. But, Neal is different because he was one of those guys. He's in the rock and roll world. He's had a lot of record deals. He's in the business. He knew, he had his booking agents and managers, and he had his successes and failures. And he was like the prototypical, like, well, he was definitely sung and as a guitar player, but as a singer songwriter, that was where he really hadn't got his like elevated above kind of like cult status, and the fan, he knew every one of his fans by name, and that is fine. That is great. But I think he really would love to get out where he, like what I told him, and he's going to kill me because I know he's listening. And I'm right. He's actually keeping the dogs quiet because they usually bark a lot, but he's going to kill me for this. But I told him, I said, Neal, you're like, I won't mention names of like these singer songwriters who are huge right now, huge band, like your Sturgill Simpson or somebody like that. I'm just like, or the other guy who was in Drive-By Truckers, I can't remember his name, but these are guys that kind of come from the Americana world, but kind of not, but they just have their bands and people know them as songwriters, and they sell 5,000 seats in this theater or whatever. And I'm like, Neal, that's going to be you. Your new solo album is coming out, and you are going to be that guy. And I'm speaking like I'm in that movie, The Idolmaker, or some like crazy, like, it's honestly like some bullshit thing. But I was like, I can see it. I see the lights going down, and I see this, like Neal played with Ryan, right? For all those years, Ryan Adams. That I said, you're going to be as big as him, and you deserve it. Because now you're going to bring in all your people all your fans that have come up, that learned about you through CRB and through Circles Around the Sun, and then your solo bands and all the other bands you played in, not to mention hardworking Americans, skillful players, Gospel Beach, whatever. You're going to bring all that's going to come together, and it's going to be, they're not going to say Neal Casal. They're going to say, that's Neal Casal. It's going to be incredible, and you're going to win a fucking Grammy, and you're going to have everything that you ever wanted, and you're probably going to end up hating yourself because of it or whatever. But and then
you're exactly who he needed at his back.
Yeah, that's the guy.
Yeah, then what happened? That's
Well, I think what happened was nobody control.
Saw that shit coming.
Well, that was out of everyone's control. Nobody knows anyone else's private freaking thoughts.
But you ask.
No, well,
they're not going to tell you.
I was
Yeah,
gonna
they're
say,
not gonna fucking
even
say
if
so,
you
man.
ask, there's no guarantee the answer is going to be straight, or maybe they told you 3/4 of it. You know what I'm saying?
John Prine, Hello in There, that great song, it's like, how often do we really say like, hey, hello in there, how,
Yeah. What's those eyes?
yeah, like, there's a lot, one of my favorite bands, Badfinger. I love that band because not just because they were on the Beatles label, but they just made incredible melodic rock songs, and incredible songwriter Pete Ham. And, he committed suicide over, money and just like, what am I going to do? I don't know what it is. Everybody always says it's over money, but money doesn't make you do that. But
It's your head, man. It's where,
yeah, but it's like, how telling Neal he's going to be, telling Neal telling him what I told him, that obviously he probably chuckled and laughed, and he knew that I would take it with a grain of salt, but I would try my hardest to make that happen. And I honestly believe that we all know it's true now because, his records are selling and everybody knows who he is.
Everybody knows now.
But I just, I guess to really reach somebody who's that hurting, it's beyond like our thing. It's beyond, putting a sticker in with a record or saying, hey, how you doing? Or, even
beyond one hello there. It's, you know what I mean? It's beyond one good conversation.
Yeah.
One good conversation leads to maybe 4 or 5 down the line where you even think to maybe possibly
The
mention
only
it,
thing that I can equate that to is being strung out on dope, and somebody coming to you and asking if you want to quit doing dope.
Obviously the answer is no.
Yeah.
If you've ever been strung out on dope like I have been, it's been like, oh yes, oh my God, I'd love that. But inside, no.
No, hell no. It's the most terrifying fucking
Take
thought.
my dope away from me, I'm gonna
Fuck you up. Yeah.
Sorry, Dad.
Yeah. Shit. But I think about it like that. Like, I'm not gonna go tell everybody why
about your darkest thoughts.
I have a compulsion or whatever.
And do you know what? You might be touching on something, and this is being recorded, so I'm probably going to be a big laughing stock. And
we can always edit whatever
psychology class, but sometimes somebody who brings so much joy and friendship into everybody's life, the only thing that could possibly feel good was to have a dark thought or something hidden somewhere they could go to, because Neal was universally loved, adored. He'd never had to worry about money because somebody's always going to fix him a meal. Just the girls alone. You know what I mean? Yeah. The guy,
you never hear anything
it's so
bad.
True, because
I could never write a song about being lonely, because nobody ever would want to leave him alone. The girls were lining up, and and guys too, me, shoot, I'll wash your red cords, Neal. I love that guy. Right. I would do anything for him. And I don't even know why.
He was that guy. He was that likable.
See, there's just people that are allowed to be like that.
Well, and that he's right. I think he's right. That there's got to be balance in life. And those of us that have a dark passenger understand that.
Well, we all have a dark passenger, man. We do.
Yeah, but he didn't he would come to me and but since I knew him, I got strung out on dope. I had before I met him, the whole way Beachwood Sparks started for me was like a psychotic drug episode, speed, and I ended up twice with suicide attempts, and I lived through both of them. And obviously they weren't good enough and they weren't real, else I wouldn't be here talking to you. But he knew my past, and he knew that I was in my 20s, 30s, not my 20s, but my 30s and 40s, I was really tortured and very fragile, and I wasn't the person that you're talking to now. And it was only from becoming, my meeting my wife, who we live together as friends now. We're not even really married anymore. But she really saved me, and starting to listen to my dad. And, I actually did change my life and was able to live through things that other people that I know weren't able to live through. And Neal, I've lost a lot of friends to suicide. I've lost way many more friends to alcohol. Thank God I get migraines and I can't drink too much, you know. I can have a Miller Lite here and there, you know.
Good.
Perfect for picnics.
Yeah, exactly. It's great. That's filling.
Right.
My whole thing with Gospel Beach is like if I was really trying to infiltrate a scene, I just want to be like, you know, regular guy rock, you know, like classic rock circa 1978, 79. Like,
That shit is too cool, man.
yeah, that's all I care about, you know, and there's no market for it. You know, nobody cares about it. But everyman rock is what I really dig, and dad rock, I guess, because I never had kids. But those things that I lived through, and then that sadness, that like ability to like not be able to see to tomorrow and say like, I'm just going to be gone and it doesn't hurt and I'm not scared or whatever. I'm so glad that I made it through that. And, you know, Neal losing, we all lost Neal, and then my father passed away, and then my marriage ended, and those three things, man, they just were like, okay, you're an idiot, man. I just really realized like all those cool little things that people thought, oh, I like that song you wrote, and those fragile moments, and that way of life. It's kind of, you can't control it when you're in it. But looking back on it now, now I know why, like my brother, who's super smart, laughed at me during all that. He helped me, of course, but he was like, come on, dude, really? So it's like, you know, you know, getting through it is to me is the best thing. And just finding something simple can be so gratifying later on in life, you know, that where all you wanted was not the riches of not wealth, but just the things that you think they're going to make you happy, and then
Things.
don't make you happy, and then the simplest thing in the world, talking to you guys, is incredible right now.
I know, man.
Yeah,
It's
man.
I feel
the
so
longest conversation I've had in a long time. I just wish we could reach out and
I know.
I know, dude. That's what we talk about the most. This whole community is a bunch of hug. I mean, it's going to be a hug fest
I know.
once
Yeah.
we're allowed to start.
I know.
Because our community, we don't care. I mean, not that we don't care,
That's-
but
Yeah,
we don't.
speak for yourself.
Careful with how you
we
phrase
believe the
this,
same
Apple.
thing. We're all thoroughly believe that this Corona thing, it's already gone through. We all had it. It was like the flu. It was like the cold. We're over it. I get in trouble at work for hugging people here because certain people don't care. I don't care. We give each other hugs all the time. If you were here, I'd fucking hug you right now.
oh yeah.
It's trying to keep us apart, and ain't gonna last too much longer, man.
Nope.
You can't.
Could you guys like, okay, so you were like worried about saying, like, not worried, but like when you're hesitant to say something that you believe, like Pacific Range, I wanted them to do a stream thing, and then I was like, people were like, oh, but all four of them have to be together. And I was just like, you're fucking kidding me.
Wow.
And so we actually had texts where we said, you know what? Just at the risk, because you are a new artist and we are a new label, shoot, man, we actually can't flaunt. We use the words flaunt a gathering of me holding the camera and them playing the music.
Even if
Because
they're 6 feet apart.
you know, you got to be closer than that when you're playing music. And I just like doing something.
You don't know where people are sensitive or at. That's the
Yeah.
thing. And one rogue person, those will always have the loudest mouth. So
And
they'll
I do understand their, like, if I want everybody to have, I definitely want them to have a different opinion than me, because then it gives us something to talk about.
Right.
course.
I was like, I love, like, the best thing in the world is to be in a band with guys and then you like somebody that they don't like. You know, you're going to pull
Yeah.
out brown tape on tour and they're like, oh no. And I'm like, you're going to like this because I'm going to make you like this. or whatever. It's like, I don't want everybody, oh yeah, put that in, because then it doesn't sound as good to me if I know everybody in the world's loving it.
Well,
Jackson's a bad example, but well, he had Corona, so we can talk about him.
yeah, no shit, right?
Living proof that we're going to be okay.
We are going to be
We
okay.
are.
And
all
that is
gonna be all
without any disrespect to anybody who's lost anybody, because
Yes.
I don't
absolutely.
think you've lost somebody to suicide or drugs or drinking or Corona or to any of the diseases that we've mentioned in this conversation.
Yeah.
We're all going to die. You know, I'm definitely going to.
You know what?
Are you sure?
This is
Well, and while you're living, keep on living. And we're gonna, like you said, you've learned. You've had a lot of mistakes. We all have.
So, yeah, we have.
And we're going to continue to make them. And I'm
Yep.
going to say the fucking wrong thing. I know I am. I
Well-
say the wrong. I say things offensively sometimes. It's not
Maybe
meant
one
that
was-
way.
There was too many bands on Skull and Roses, so it's like
Yeah,
Well,
that was you after.
I'll rewind it, or I always like to take the blame for it because nobody's going to be mad at me for too long.
You know what?
Well, I was just going to say, like, thank you so much for coming on and
Yeah, man.
spending
you're welcome.
time.
Thank you for having me. I mean,
Yeah.
I know it was I just like to have a talk. I think I was a little nervous coming on because I didn't have an agenda. I know that I wanted to connect with some of Neal's people out there, and I definitely wanted to connect to some of the community in the Grateful Dead world because I feel like I'm a part of it, but I'm in the kind of part of it where it's like one of the most, I think a dream concert of mine was Tom Petty with Bob Dylan. Tom Petty and Heartbreakers with Bob Dylan sharing a bill with the Dead. And yeah, and like, you know, I mean, come on. Those are the three, that's all you need.
That's
That's
huge
all you
right
need.
All
there.
my
Good
records-
on you.
Yeah, that's Americana right there to the heart.
I could keep my Petty records, keep my Dylan records, and keep my Dead records. Then you can take the rest.
All right. We'll be hanging out
Well,
soon.
you know
man,
what's
for
amazing,
sure.
right? This time, this has been happening for like a month now. Right now, like you said, you're coming on here. We're interviewing musicians, just friends, right? Nobody has nothing to promote right now. It's so honest. You're at home with your dogs all jumping around. It's different than it was. So to me, that's the silver lining of this. I mean, you're
Yep.
promoting Curation Records and your stuff, but there's not like, yeah, man, next week, you know, it's kind of different right now. And when we
Yeah,
get,
yeah.
I don't know, when we get through this, it's going to be,
That's right.
we're all going to explode.
Oh, wait, I forgot to tell you. Here comes all the tour dates and the links and the.
Yeah, no shit, right?
Here.
I'll take them, man.
All joking aside, though, seriously,
When
if people want to find Pacific Range, where can they find them?
Just curationrecords.com.
Okay.
And then just you know what, to me it's all about like the connection. So just go to the Instagram or Facebook page wherever you go and just look me up. I mean, I do them all anyway, so it's like somebody's like, oh wow, Curation Records liked my photo. It's like, well, really, Brent liked your photo. I just have more followers on Brent than I do on Curation, so it's like, but yeah, you're right. It's like I this is like Brian Hain reached out to you guys, and he runs Ravens Reels, and he's been like the guy that's made the whole anything to do with the internet and curation. He's done it because he knows what he's fucking doing. So he's like, hey, why don't we contact No Simple Road? I'm like, they don't want to talk to me. Let me talk to.
Yeah, we do.
Yeah, we do.
Well, now we've talked. It's rad.
Well, now, and we want to talk to you again. Once we get through this and Curation Records is blowing up, you come back on here. You know, I think we definitely have
And we need
another
to-
brother in the family
Yeah.
now. We need to stay in touch.
And we
when
need to
stuff,
Pacific Range on too.
yeah, get Pacific Range on. Hell, you know, anything you need from us, you know, like just let us know, man.
Yeah, same here, man. Peace
Yep.
and love to all three of you and everybody else listening. I can't even believe this.
We love you, man.
Thanks for letting us into the Neal part too, man. That I think a lot of our listeners are really going to appreciate
Yep.
that.
Yeah, it's not the easiest to talk about, but it needs to be talked about.
Yep.
Those feelings are still really, really
Raw.
heavy.
Mel, it's a 4-part series. This was just part 1.
Hell yeah!
Yeah. So
Hell
we're
yeah!
down- we're
Part
down.
2 once they announce the dates.
You really, and I'll save this. This is a teaser. The way the very first thing that happened between Neal and I, it was stay tuned.
Okay.
How great. I'll text it to you.
I like
Okay.
that. Okay, I like that. A
Right on.
cliffhanger.
Okay.
We'll talk to you soon,
Love
Brent.
that.
Take care of yourself,
Brent,
man.
Thank
All
you.
right, No
brother.
Simple Road.
Love you,
Much
brother.
love.
Bye, guys.
Bye.